Welcome to the first episode of Star Trek Hyperion. And as we begin the scene, the Hyperion herself is just gliding through space with not much around, and to tell us a little more, we're going to hear the captain's log from Captain Nix.
Captain's log, stardate 56494.93. The Hyperion has had a fairly uneventful first week to start her mission off with. We're in a section of space that truly lives up to it being a big bunch of nothing, as some humans might say. There, of course, have been a few nondescript stars on long range scans, yet none really worth diverting to check out. Which reminds me, I need to talk to Chief Engineer Telek about possibly engaging the quantum slipstream drive, mostly to test it out, but also to maybe get us out of these doldrums. As for the crew in general, they are taking the time to settle in and engage in their own pursuits. Of note, Dr. Jarvik has asked the senior staff to come by for their physical at their earliest convenience. Yet, as usual, they did not attach any urgency to such a request. I may simply go to set an example for the rest of the crew and log.
Alan, you find yourself in the turbolift, and you're actually headed to Ash's office. You know that Ash wanted to have a meeting with you for some reason. It's around 7 o'clock in the morning, the arrival of the start of first shift, and you're in the turbolift. And you're taking the turbolift to Deck 2, which is Commander Ash's office. When the turbolift stops, the doors open, and in steps a very large Cation. He's wearing security yellow like yourself, and he shoulders his way in, so the turbolift becomes very cramped. You notice this is actually Chief Zach. He's one of the security officers. And as he walks in, he gives you a gruff, "Hello, Lieutenant."
Good morning, Mr. Zach.
Good morning to you too, Lieutenant. We may resume.
So how are you?
I am well. And as he says that, he reaches over and he starts scratching a point on his shoulder. And you notice he's actually scratching it fairly heavily, like he's starting to pull up threads on his uniform.
Yeah, something. You doing all right there?
Yes. And he moves over to start scratching behind his neck, and he's pulling up quite a bit of fur as he's scratching. Turbolift, I'll resume to Deck 2. The turbolift continues. But you notice he's scratching quite a bit, like hair is starting to fly through the air around him.
If you have some sort of skin condition, there are tons of topical creams that the doctor could give you. You don't have to suffer.
Yes, I have been meaning to go to sick bay. I have turbolift stop, and the turbolift stops. I have a bit of a problem.
Oh?
Are you aware of Lieutenant Falkland?
I haven't had a chance to become well acquainted, no.
She is nurse in sick bay. I have served with her before.
Oh, is she, give me the scoop. Is she nice? Is she friendly? Is she a bit of a pain in the butt?
And he kind of shifts uncomfortably, and he scratches for a moment and then pauses. Are you successful in mating?
I'd say my batting average is just above the Mendoza line there, Zach. Oh, that's a baseball reference. I'm not sure.
I do not know what that is. Baseball.
That means I don't do that well. Bit of a swing and a miss here.
Understood. Lieutenant Falknin, I'm quite taken with her. I enjoyed watching her move, and I do not know what to say to her. It is quite unsettling.
You could always start with so you new on this starship? Again, I am terrible at this.
I try to talk to her, and it is like I have hair in my throat.
And do you actually have hair in your throat, or is...
Sometimes I'll no, not the last time I tried to talk to her, no.
Sounds like you got the butterflies in the stomach. I think you have a crush on her.
No, I do not want to crush her. I am quite taken with her.
That's another human saying. I have to remember, not everyone has lived most of their life on Earth.
It is true. I have not lived on Earth before.
A crush means you have feelings. Romantic feelings.
It's a yes. I try to talk to her about phaser settings and combat, hand-to-hand combat, calisthenics, but she is not interested in such things. She is intelligent female. I am just look at me. I do not know what to say.
Well, she's a doctor, right? Maybe you go to the holodeck, you get a little sprained wrist or something. That's an excellent icebreaker. Again, I am terrible at dating.
I also worry that it is perhaps not appropriate for me to have these feelings of her. It is, I am, of course, security chief. I do not know.
Actually, that's where it gets a little tricky. Mr. Zach, I think you just gotta, keep cool. We're out here for a long time. There's no need to jump into things. Maybe just spark up a conversation. Just be friends.
Indeed, I could talk to her about plasma manifold upgrade on phasers. That is quite interesting, I find.
Maybe you start with, where are you from? See if you have some common stuff in common there. What about your experience in Starfleet? Like Starfleet Academy, that's usually a great conversation right there.
We actually know each other from previous assignment. I repaired that tricorder for her that she broke, but I like a fool did not speak to her. I just gave the tricorder back and ran away like a coward.
Well, maybe you could ask her if that tricorder's still working.
I could break a tricorder again and see if that helps.
I can't condone that. But if you did it and no one saw.
Indeed, I could give it a shot. Thank you, Lieutenant. I do not mean to keep you. I know you have very important day ahead of you as senior staff.
Well, I'm actually heading into a meeting with Commander Ash, and I'm not really sure what it's about, so wish me luck.
Good luck. The commander seems to be a very formidable creature. I have not dealt with them very much myself.
Yeah, the commander frightens me just a little bit. I'm not sure if it's the commander or the rank.
I do not understand the distinction.
That's all right. Turbo lift resume.
And the next thing we transition to Commander Ash's office. So, Commander, you've been in here probably since you started today. You've been getting ready. You also have first shift duties coming up very shortly. And you've called Mr. Allen to meet you, and I'd say promptly on time, you get a ping on your door.
So Ash's office has already been slightly decorated. There are a few pieces of abstract art on the walls, and she is in the middle of reviewing a report on a pad in her left hand and typing away at her computer console with her right. She looks up to the door, And then, Bradley, I'd like to ask you, what is Alan thinking at this moment? I do have telepathy, and Betazoids basically hear thoughts.
Just a sense of nervousness.
Okay.
He hasn't had a lot of interactions with the senior staff probably at this point, other than what his duties would entail.
All right.
Still
Uh,
takes the hand behind the back pose, though.
hmm. Well, Lieutenant, why don't you have a seat?
Thank you, sir.
Can I get you anything? Do you want a drink, some tea?
Oh no, I don't want to impose, Commander.
Well, you'd be imposing on the replicator, but, you know,
But you'd have to go through the effort of hitting the buttons, and I don't want to make you do that.
well, that's very considerate of you, Lieutenant. I'm going to get myself a cup of tea, though. So if you want something, it's not actually going to bother me.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Commander Ash will stand, stretch, holding her arms out above her head, crick her neck, and then walk over to the replicator and order some Beta Z Gistral tea, hot.
And after a moment, the replicator goes whoosh, and there's your tea.
And she will take the cup, return to her seat, settle in, take a sip. So, Lieutenant, you're, well, I know that you're wondering why I called you here. You don't have to worry. I just want to have a conversation with you.
Um, all right, Commander.
Hmm. Now, I've been looking through the various different reports from our section heads and department chiefs and the like, and she picks up the pad and begins scrolling through it regarding our performance in that little war games that we had with, well, immediately after we left Space Dock. And you know what? I hate reports. I really hate reports. I've been sitting at this desk for about an hour now, looking at reports and writing reports and filling them out in triplicate. It's a headache. And it loses the human element, as it were, or the betazoid element or the cation element, whatever you want. So I want to hear from you about your perspective on the ship's performance, on the crew's performance. I want to know what you think about how we fared.
Whoa. Uh, and you can see that Lieutenant Allen is taken aback just a little bit. Well, as you can see in my report, Commander, everyone performed up to their abilities. And again, if you'd like to refer to the report, um, it's all there.
All right. She takes a sip of her tea and then places it on the table and leans in slightly. Listen, Lieutenant, I'm not looking for the things you told me in your report. I'm looking for your insight as a Starfleet officer, as a tactical officer, things that you wouldn't necessarily want to put into a report.
Okay. Well, and you see him slouch a bit, and he puts his hands together in his lap, and he thinks for a second. Well, we were at a disadvantage from the start. Going up against a Galaxy class starship, it and the situation we were in, maybe this was impossible, but it would have been nice to be able to approach from behind or from some sort of tactical position where we could shoot first and really have the initiative. And I don't think we did in that battle. Again, mainly because it was a simulation battle where we set up in front of each other, nose to nose, as you would.
Hmm. You know what, Lieutenant? I agree wholeheartedly. We have to make sure that when we're out here, this ship, it's not just ready for combat, but it's ready to engage in combat when we have the advantage. This ship is a marvel of scientific engineering, of Starfleet's, well, commitment to scientific exploration. But we can't hold our own in a fair fight. I've been looking over your record, and she pulls out sort of service record and turns the computer around to display it to him. And I understand that well, you and I have the same kind of perspective on combat. We can't outfight well, anyone we really encounter out here, not directly, not in a stand up fight. But I'm going to be relying on you, your ingenuity, your unconventional approach to tactics. This ship, well, its safety is in all our hands. And I think that because of its limitations, this kind of approach is necessary.
Well, that's interesting to hear.
How so, Lieutenant?
To be honest, when I took this position, I thought we would just be doing everything by the book. But if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you're open to trying anything as long as it keeps us all alive in a fight.
You know, I'm not one for rules and regulations, but there's one that I love, one that I have committed to memory. Regulation 3, paragraph 12. In the event of imminent destruction, a Starfleet captain is authorized to preserve the lives of his crew by any justifiable means. That means you can throw out every single other regulation so long as you can appeal to that one. So in the end, that's the only regulation you really need to know. You get what I'm saying?
I think I do, Commander.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add about the ship's performance, my performance, anything at all? Oh, and by the way, you have permission to speak freely.
Thank you, Commander. I can't say I do. I think you and the Commander showed great initiative coming up with a plan that gave us a fighting chance against that Galaxy-class starship. It didn't work, but there was a chance that I could have.
Well, it's like I said, our ingenuity and yours is what's going to make the difference, I think, if we do encounter another actually hostile force out here. But you were saying, Lieutenant.
Oh, it's we're gonna be alone in space out here, and when I took this position, that was exciting. But as we've begun our journey, it's become a little more. I've realized that that's actually more of a serious situation, and we don't know what's out here. But I promise I will do my very best to make sure we all come back alive.
Well, don't let me ruin the fun for you, Lieutenant. There's there's a reason we're out here, and it's not to start fights. It's not even to finish fights. We will if we have to, but don't let it compromise the excitement. We're going where no one has gone before, and well, isn't that why we joined Starfleet?
It's exactly what I did. My father didn't get to do this. He joined Starfleet, but he stayed mostly on Earth. And his one regret was not getting to see the stars.
Hmm. And you see, at the mention of your father, she sort of leans back and tightens up in her chair a little bit, and then moves to her collar to tighten up those buttons and affix them, smoothing out her uniform. Uh, well, Lieutenant, I'm glad that you can fulfill your family dream, as it were. If there's nothing else, I have to, report for my duty shift in very short order. Um, I did just have one last question for you. When we were leaving space dock, it seemed like you wanted to say something. Do you want to share what that might have been?
And you see Alan think for a moment, and then he just shakes his head no.
Hmm. Well, I think it was probably what I reminded the captain of, that in a space dock, a starship is not supposed to exceed, well, thrusters.
Oh, yeah, and all the excitement, I kind of forgot about that.
Well, here's the thing, Lieutenant. I think the captain and I are we're like minded. So what I want you to do is not to be afraid to quote the regulations to us. And she rises from her chair, does the Riker maneuver as she fixes her shirt, and then walks over, puts a hand on his shoulder, and says, "After all," she smirks, "if we don't know what the regulations are, we won't know which ones we haven't broken yet."
Fair enough, Commander.
All right. You're dismissed, Lieutenant.
And the lieutenant nods his head after standing up and gets out of the room.
And as soon as Alan walks out the door and the door is closed behind him, we actually transition to sickbay. So I believe, Captain Nix, you said that's where you were headed.
That I was.
And as you're making your way through the ship, one thing stands out in your mind very clearly, Captain, and that is your ship. This is definitely the top of the line, super brand new vessel. It still has that new starship smell. Everything is shiny and bright. Everyone passes by the hallway and they're clean, perfectly trimmed uniforms. Most people give you a nod, "Good morning, Captain," as you walk by. But you've made your way to main sickbay, and as the doors open, you see before you is Lieutenant Astrid Faulkner, which I believe we're meeting for the first time. So, Nick, if you could tell us a little bit about Astrid.
Astrid is an average-sized human. Seems a little bit nervous in such a new environment because a lot of the technology is a lot newer than what she was trained on at the academy. And she salutes when the captain comes in and said, "Oh, Captain, hello. Are you here for your physical?"
That I am. I must confess, and she looks around the med bay. I don't think I quite understand how our CMO is going to perform the physical.
Oh, well, you see, we just need to call him, and then there are these new holographic systems that'll allow him to perform the physical from where they are. It's very fancy. I haven't gotten used to it yet. It always surprises me.
Well, where should I sit?
Uh, choose any of the tables. I mean, they're all free right now.
All right. Well, then Nyx is gonna slither on over to this one.
Nix, as soon as you pull yourself up on the bio bed, gliding out of the main office, the CMO's office, is Dr. Jarvik. And a little bit of an explanation of what you're seeing here is Dr. Jarvik is physically located on Deck 6 of the ship. And in fact, most all of Deck 6 is underwater. And the aquatic species like Dr. Jarvik, who's a Xindi aquatic, are based off of Deck 6. But what's happened is he is actually physically in a holodeck on Deck 6. And he is seeing a holographic projection of this room, but the computer in the holodeck has actually captured his location in his image and projecting a holographic image for you in the real sickbay. So he is a hologram here, but for him, he's on a holodeck and he sees the same thing, however, in water. So what you see is him gliding, swimming through the air towards you. And it looks like he has a giant smile on his face, but it's really hard to tell because he is a Xindi aquatic. But as he swims up to you and he says, hello, Captain. My name is Dr. Jarvik. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, Doctor. So, how are we doing this thing? Standard run-of-the-mill Starfleet physical, or do you have something a bit more robust in mind?
Oh, I think Lieutenant Faulkner here can take your vitals if you don't mind, Lieutenant. Of course, there's really no rush here, Captain. I'd just like to take the opportunity here to ask you how you're feeling. Is there anything that we should be aware of?
Well, this is a little bit personal, but I do believe in doctor-patient confidentiality. I've had slight shedding problems with my lower half, as it were.
Indeed, I've read that can happen for one approaching your age. Lieutenant, I believe we have a cream that we can give the captain here.
Oh, yes, of course. And she sort of puts away the blood pressure cuff and goes over to find the medications in order to find the correct cream.
Now, Captain, I must warn you, this cream, you'll have to apply it daily, and it's quite putrid.
I expect nothing less. Even the Cephalus traditional methods are not exactly pleasant.
Are you experiencing any discomfort? Because on its own, this sort of thing, from what I can recall, is quite normal.
A little bit of chafing, but I think that's just to be expected based on how new everything is. I mean, there's not been what's the expression? Well-worn paths been put into the corridors yet. So every time I slither around, I pick up pretty much everything, if that makes any sense.
Uh, Not exactly, of course. The feeling of brushing against the floor is not something I can quite relate to. However, I can say here on Deck 6, we've had quite a few arguments on the viscosity of the water. Apparently, Zindi aquatics like the water a little bit thicker than some of the native Earth species.
And at that, Nyx is actually going to think to herself for the moment and then propose. Uh, I would have. You're the doctor here, Doc, but could we not raise the viscosity, but at the same time raise the oxygen level? Would that not work for this situation?
Oh, indeed, Captain. We have a variety of interesting ideas, especially from Commander Tulek, who I must say has been quite remarkable in their adaptiveness to our needs. Uh, I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's just the differences of a group of people coming together for the first time.
Hmm. Well, we are having quite a lot of that with nothing really to focus the crew's attention. They are, of course, looking in at themselves. That in of itself can be an entire journey.
I can indeed. Thank you for being the first senior officer to come for your physical, Captain. Traditionally, it is difficult to get those in command to show up for their own analysis, as you put it.
Well, I may not be the most wise when it comes to matters of medicine, but I do subscribe to the theory that a well maintained and well observed warp core often is the most efficient.
Indeed. And if you don't mind me saying, I I'm quite an appetite lately. I'm gonna go finish my morning breakfast of sea grubs, if you don't mind. I think the lieutenant can take it from here. It was very nice to meet you, Captain.
Likewise, Doctor.
And the doctor swims off towards his office, and as he does, he actually disappears, leaving you with Lieutenant Faulkner.
Astrid walks back over with a small tube of just a mysterious cream, and says, "Here you go, Captain. You just have to apply this twice a day to the affected areas, and hopefully that will bring you some relief."
And Captain Nix takes it and smiles a little bit coyly and says, I don't actually have a shedding problem right now, but I've found it's best to give your CMO something to work on. That way they're not like, oh, this looks too good. But I'll keep the cream nonetheless.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll have it on hand for if need be. And if not, I can always sneak it back into the stock. No problem.
Of course. And she gets up and starts to move for the doorway and like stops halfway and says, that was my first time really meeting a Zindi Aquatic in person. Are they really that large? Or is that the holodeck in play?
I technically haven't met him in person, so I'm not completely sure, but uh maybe one day I'll take a journey onto deck 6 and see for myself, or you can.
That's not a half bad idea, Lieutenant. As you were. And off I go.
And where would Nyx's paths take her at this point? Would she go to the bridge or somewhere else?
I honestly think her next stop would be main engineering because I have to talk to Tolek about the possible use of QSD.
Okay. So maybe let's make that our next scene as we transition on to main engineering. A little bit of setup because this is the first time we've been to main engineering on the Hyperion. This engineering bay is actually kind of small, but like most of the rest of the ship, it's very advanced, it's very clean at this point. Starfleet has figured out how to consolidate engineering to just the most vital systems. But Talek, you've just made your way onto main engineering at the start of your shift. Like I said, to the start of first shift, and as you walk on, you see Mr. Alan Wrench is already reported for duty. Bradley, if you can tell us a little bit about Mr. Alan Wrench.
He's probably in his mid-40s. And for someone who's been in Starfleet as long as him, you'd think he would have advanced a lot farther. But he's still just an ensign. But he's useful. He knows a lot about the inner workings of a starship. So he's very useful, especially on a long-term mission like this, at keeping the ship together. He also comes off as a bit of a meathead.
And Talek and Alan, for the last week since the mission has been underway, you guys really haven't had much to do. Apparently the folks at Utopia Planitia have really done their job, which is saying something. Usually new starships have all sorts of bugs, but so far you haven't really found anything. The intermix is very clean. There's nothing to really worry about. The warp core is activating or operating just fine. Everything is on the green. So really, just been able to do whatever you want really for the last week.
So, Ensign Wrench, do you have that report on the QSD that I asked for?
Huh? Sorry, Commander. I've been focusing on getting more power out of these engines. I can get that for you right away. And you see him scurry off to another panel and start furiously hitting buttons. And then after a moment, he brings a data pad back. Again, I'm sorry, Commander, but I think I can improve the efficiency of these warp engines by another 0.003%. That's more power.
And how much time would it take for that? I just want to make sure that you're not
36 hours,
of course.
Give or take. No, 40. But it's more power. We can get these things really humming.
Give me a minute. Let's keep that on the back burner for right now. We're just starting off.
You're the boss, Commander. You're the boss.
And he'll take the pad and sort of scroll through the report.
And Commander, as you're reading through the report, you hear a whizzing sound behind you, and as you turn, you hear a dog barking. No, just kidding. You see an exocomp flying towards you, and in fact, that's Ensign EX-33, Starfleet's first exocomp officer. And what's unique about EX-33 is, well, that he's a Starfleet officer, but he is also on your engineering team, and he hovers up to you. He's on the third shift, so he's working the late night, so he's actually about to come off duty, but he hovers up to you and he says, "Good morning, Commander. It's a pleasure to see you. I trust that you slept well."
I certainly did. How was the last shift?
Quite uneventful, I must say. I performed diagnostic duties on Deck 6 in order to augment some of the viscosity and the water layer for one of the aquatic beings. That was the most remarkable part of the shift's duties, I must say.
Good job. It seems like you have nothing left to do today, so you're welcome to go on break.
Thank you, Commander. I'm looking forward to my activities off duty. Is there anything else I can do to provide you with assistance before I leave?
I think we're all set here, but if we need you, we will make sure to call you. Good job.
Thank you, sir. And he hovers a little closer to you, Ensign Wrench. Ensign, I'm not sure if you are aware, however, your uniform is inappropriately sized to your body.
And Ensign Wrench looks down. Huh?
I'm afraid that you have put on a little too much body mass for the size uniform that you are wearing.
uh, don't. Come on, EX33. You don't have to be saying that out loud. I know I'm getting a little older, but come on.
Indeed, I'm sorry, Ensign. I thought that you would like to know that your dimensions have expanded since I last saw you. I thought that would be. Forgive me if that was insensitive.
You know, EX33. That's kind of a mouthful of a name. Why don't I call you Al? You know, you could be my co-host here in the engine room.
I think that would be quite enjoyable. Al,
You know, we
it
can
has a nice
hang
ring
out.
to it.
We can have some tool time. Just me, you, broing out.
Indeed. In fact, at the last starbase before we left, I was called Wilson by another member of the crew. It seems as though your kind like to give me nicknames that have very little to do with my real name. But if Al is something that, when you see me, that you can relate it to me, then I will certainly adopt that nickname.
And, Al, has anyone ever tried to give you a bit of a power boost? I think we could give you some more power. Just have to get around in those parts. Just think about it.
I will think about it, Ensign. Thank you. I will leave you to your duties, and in fact, the commander has already relieved me, so have a good day.
See you later, Al. Gives him a bit of a little salute.
And at the front of the exocomp is a replicator, and he actually replicates a device that gives you, it looks like the shape of a thumbs up, and then he immediately dematerializes it, and he comes up again, he's actually sitting on the table, he floats up, and his brown little exocomp body flies towards the doors open, and he leaves. And immediately, as he leaves, in slithers the captain.
Well, this is very quaint. I was expecting it to be much larger, actually.
I like to call it cozy, Captain. It's a little
Well,
bit smaller, but it's nice.
well, do you have that report on the QSD that I asked for?
Of course, we just finished it up here, and I'll pass the pad over.
All right. I take it and look at it for a little bit. It says here that the Utopia Planitia fleet yards did tests but never actually engaged the system. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, it looks to be in complete functioning order. So I don't think it would be too dangerous to use it, even if it isn't extensively tested.
Well, it's the funny thing about QSD is one moment it's safe, the next you're being violently thrown back into normal space and crashing into a planet. Tell me, have we run tests on the main deflector to make sure that it will be able to constantly adjust the quantum variance of the field?
I actually recently did maintenance on them as of 1400 hours yesterday and double checked that everything was in order with those and they should be functioning perfectly fine for when we decide to activate the QSD.
Well, speaking of wanting to activate the QSD, I'm thinking of doing so possibly by end of shift today.
And Telek's slightly surprised, in so much that you can like see surprise on him. Um, oh, yeah, we can definitely go ahead and do that. Captain, I thought that we weren't planning on using it until we were a little bit further along in our mission. Is there something in particular that's making us move ahead of schedule?
Well, that's the funny thing about our mission is we don't really have a quote unquote schedule. But no, the real reason I'm doing it is because we're sort of in the doldrums right now. There's not a lot going on outside, and I would rather the crew have something to focus on other than themselves. Plus, by actually encountering something interesting, we can test out the ship systems and make sure that we haven't had any what's the expression? Bugs sneaking in.
That sounds reasonable enough. Um, yeah, I will have everything prepared. Do you know what time that you would like to engage the drive? That way we can have everybody on deck in engineering just to keep an eye on all of the systems to make sure that should something go wrong, we can handle it immediately.
Let's go for 1700.
Understood. I will make sure that EX33 is back to assist us during that time.
Hmm. She, hands you back the pad and then starts to turn to leave, and then sort of thinks better of it, and turns back and says, "Tell me, our ensign X33 EX33. I must admit, it's the first time I'm actually getting to see an exocomp in person, or it will be once I finally meet them. How do you keep yourself from scanning him and trying to? Are they even a him? I mean, I just have so many questions.
What I do is just treat him like another member of the crew, to be honest, and if I may speak freely, he is
Of course.
perhaps even a bit more competent than some previous crew that I've had in the past. So I'm very happy to have him in engineering with us. He's
Hmm,
doing a great job so far.
that's good. I must admit, this whole command thing is new to me. Usually, I'm in your position, where I'm the one coordinating engineering teams. Was my previous assignment actually before I was offered this command. So, if you do notice me doing anything that isn't perhaps command worthy or captain worthy, please let me know.
And if you see me doing anything that isn't quite up to your standards of engineering, I will be happy to compensate.
Well, what about that? And I point at whatever corner wrench is in, and there's just probably this big field coil that he's doing something to.
Actually, you probably hear from him, "Uh-oh," and then he gets shocked and flies across the room comically, and then shakes it off and says, "Okay, don't touch that one," and then goes right back to work, almost touching the exact same thing.
Ensign Wrench is rather passionate in his work, which I can appreciate.
I can see that. Just maybe make sure he doesn't end up in my end of day reports on injuries.
I'll try my best.
Very good, as you were. And then she'll actually turn to leave.
And we're going to transition from this scene to another turbolift scene. And Ash, you are heading to the bridge to start your day, and the turbolift stops for a moment, and in floats EX33. And he floats in, actually settles down to the floor. He's a very small exocomp, and he says, "Hello, Commander. It is enjoyable to see you this morning."
Ash will just stare at him for a moment with her eyebrow quirked in much the same way as a stereotypical Vulcan, and then simply say, "Hello, Ensign. I believe.
Yes, Commander. I would just like to say that as the first of my kind to serve on a Starfleet vessel in an official capacity, it is quite an honor.
Well, every life form that we encounter has the right to pursue the career that they wish to. So we're equally honored to have you with us. And you can see that she's starts to tug at the uniform collar again, and she looks remarkably discomforted.
I've only been met with openness and understanding by my fellow crewmates. It's quite an honor to not only be on a Starfleet vessel at all, but to be on a vessel as so distinguished as this vessel, with so many other remarkable officers like yourself.
Oh, well, thank you. I wasn't aware that you were familiar with my record.
Indeed, when I joined the ship, I downloaded as many records as my memory capacity could hold without also requiring me to delete any engineering records.
That seemed like a prudent decision, Ensign. It's always good to know the histories and capabilities of your fellow officers. I adopt much the same approach when I'm, well, preparing for this role.
And you notice, Ash, that when EX33 came on, he didn't say a designation, like a deck to go to. So you've been sitting here the whole time, and you're starting to realize that you've been sitting here in the Turbolift having the conversation with the exocomp for more than a few seconds.
Um, might I ask where it is that you're going? Based on what I can recall of your duty shifts, you should be, you should just be finishing up. Gamma shift, was it?
Yes, I finished my shift. Commander Telek relieved me. I plan on going to Deck 6 to check in with the doctor and the others in the aquatic area before retiring to my quarters to recharge.
Well then, computer, resume tour lift to the bridge, and Deck 6 as well for EX33.
Thank you, Commander. Again, thank you for letting me take a moment of your very important time.
I believe that a first officer is the bridge between the captain and the crew, so my time is the crew's time. I must ask you, though, and you can see that she's still almost completely at a loss as to what to say to this tiny little creature whose mind she can't read. Um, what was it that inspired you to join Starfleet?
Well, in fact, I am the 33rd exocomp, if you could not tell from my designation. I am the first exocomp that was created by another exocomp. And in fact, in recording and revisiting my species history, I was quite inspired by the actions of the Enterprise to allow my species to regain its own freedom or gain its own freedom. I must admit that I was quite taken by the heroics of Starfleet officers during the Dominion War, and I hope to emulate your bravery and your capacity for compassion towards others. Basically, I'm a very big fan, sir, and I could think of nowhere else where I might fit in, and I hope I can find a belonging here.
Well, let me say this, Ensign. With that kind of attitude, it sounds like you already belong here.
Thank you, sir. You give me much credit. I hope to not disappoint you.
Based on what I've seen from your service record thus far and your performance at the Academy, I don't have any concerns about that.
Thank you, sir. If I may cause a notice, I notice that you are perspiring at an elevated level. Is there maintenance that I could perform on the turbolift here to improve the environmental situation for you?
No. I just think that the captain may have turned up the heat across the ship. I believe she's cold-blooded, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. She just starts sort of looking around at everything in the turbolift but him, rolls her eyes up to the ceiling, checks some of the paneling. No, I don't think that there's anything that really requires maintenance in here. Although this turbolift is incredibly slow. Maybe I should put in some kind of work order for that.
Of course, Commander. I will do that myself.
Thank you, Ensign.
At that point, we're going to transition to the bridge, which I think is kind of where everybody is going to end up. So, Ash, as you step off the turbolift, we'll say the captain and everyone else has already made their way here. Talek, I'm assuming that you would have stayed in engineering.
Yep.
Alan, as you're checking in on your station, you notice next to you is Zach again, and he's still scratching. Actually, he's scratching quite vigorously on his left arm, and he's pulled up almost a hole in his uniform as he's continuing to scratch.
Psst. Zach,
Yes, Lieutenant.
you gotta go to sickbay. People are gonna notice if you keep scratching like that, dude.
I'm sorry, sir. I will go after my shift. I do not want to be derelict in my duties.
As your commanding officer, I think it's better if you just go now.
Indeed, sir. If you would like me to, I will go now. Of course, let me know if you require any assistance.
I will, and dude, just play it cool. No pressure. Okay? Just play it cool. Cool as a cat, even. Again, that's one you're not gonna...
Apologies, sir. I do not quite understand what the temperature of the room will do for my ability to talk to the lieutenant, but I will give it a try. I will lower the temperature. Would you say 5 degrees Celsius? Would that be sufficient?
You know what? That might work. And you might want to pick up a new uniform before you go.
Indeed,
and
Lieutenant.
he points to the hole that's starting to form.
I will do that. Unfortunately, I'm quite itchy today. I'm not sure what the problem is.
It's all right. Just get it figured out. You're no use to me if you're scratching in a firefight.
And Zach stands up, and as he does, there's just a cloud of hair. And you notice as he's leaving that he actually has a lot of hair also on his seat from where he was. And the next officer who comes to relieve him takes a look at the chair and looks at you.
I'll put my hand up and I'll actually break out a tricorder and scan it.
Actually, let's have Krell Dolan step in. Matthew, if you could tell us a little bit about Krell.
Before I'll motion him over, trying to keep it on the down low, but making sure that the chief is out of sight, so not to embarrass him.
Okay. So Krell Dolin is a Zindi reptilian, and you see that as he rises from the chair at which he was sitting, he stands about the average height for a male Goran, around 7 feet tall. He's wearing ornate golden sort of ceremonial armor from his people over a standard security Starfleet uniform. He has the pip of an ensign, and he walks up towards you, scowling down at the collection of fur and hair on the seat. And he looks over at you and says, "Sir, is there anything that I can do for you? I mean, do you want me to get like a broom or something like that? I could just clean that right up for you, sir. If that's
Can you keep it down for a second?
Oh yeah, yes, sir.
I just sent Zach to the med bay, and before you take his spot here, can you just scan it to make sure that he didn't leave anything behind that's like contagious or like a pest? He was scratching an awful lot.
Absolutely, sir. And he's going to fumble for a tricorder at his belt and pull it out and point it towards the chair. Should I really be the one doing this? I mean, I'm a security officer. I'm not a doctor or a scientist or a follower.
I don't want to embarrass the chief, you know. I have faith in you, Krell.
Okay. All right. Let's just take a scan, and I will do so.
So for this scan, Krell, if you can give me a medicine reason, a difficulty of 1. I'll use the complication here. The captain notices that there's a lot of commotion going on around this chair. So, Nix, take that away and do whatever you'd like or not.
I just slowly turn and look between the two of you and ask, what's going on back there, buddies?
And Lieutenant Allen will stand up to attention and Captain, can I speak to you in private for just a moment, sir?
Can I ask what it's about?
Chief Zach has had some sort of medical issue, so I sent him to the med bay. And I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't something contagious before Mr. Krell took his position, sir.
Hmm.
I just didn't want everyone to know.
Well, I have full faith in our doctor to find out if there's anything wrong with our lovely officer. However, and I just sort of stares sort of blankly at the chair. I'd recommend maybe getting a lint roller for that one.
Krell, you got anything?
No, but that's a great idea, Captain. I'll just go over the replicator, replicate that, and just let me say, Captain, I'm so just tickled to be on this ship, and just thank you for turning up the temperature for us cold-blooded species. That is really, really, I just really thankful for that. So I'll just go get that lint roller for you now, Captain. Okay.
And she actually kind of, doesn't grimace, but sort of narrows her eyes and her face tightens up slightly. And she says, I haven't messed with the thermostat as much as I would like to.
Oh, well, maybe that's just my imagination. Goodbye. And he's just going to race off to the replicator to get
And
the lint roller.
I slowly turn back and I say, all right, well, apparently we need to look into a few items here. Computer, can you please give me the temperature of the bridge, preferably in centigrade?
And the computer
I do
gives you
that just to mess with GM Josh.
the computer gives you the response in the exact temperature you were expecting.
Okay, so it's not like it's +1 or +2 or,
No, it's exactly what you were expecting.
All right,
take
so
that.
Starfleet standard. All right. And I say, all right, well, again, not exactly the most medically inclined person here, but is anyone else feeling hot, scratchy, maybe a little bit blind?
Captain, maybe we leave Chief's position open until we hear back from medbay.
Right.
Of course,
And you can see at this point that she's just sort of, looking around a bit more than usual. Like normally, when you've seen her on duty, she's kind of very much focused on the view screen or on her chair pad. But this time she's looking around, and anytime you see her eyes, it's as if they're not quite at rapid eye movement, like if she were asleep, but it's definitely clear that she's having trouble seeing, is how I would say.
And probably picking up on that thought, Commander Ash would turn around from her science chair and just look at the captain very briefly, then rise, go to the first officer's position next to the captain, settle down, pretend to work at the console for a moment, and then lean in and ask, "Is everything all right, Captain?"
Well, I must admit, no, not really. My vision is rather cloudy right now. I'm having difficulty discerning you from the background environment. I would, of course, go to sick bay, but I fear I would get lost on the way. I have not yet memorized the corridors.
Well, we could simply retire to your office for a moment and then have you beamed directly to sickbay under a containment field. If you're ill, we should probably lock down the bridge, maybe yourself. Although, now that the crewman has left, he might actually be spreading that contagion throughout the rest of the ship. Um, we should at least contact the doctor to run some kind of bioscan throughout the vessel.
I agree, though maybe not the whole beaming from the ready room thing. I don't know. I feel like the officer who just left, it would have spread far too quickly if he is the patient zero.
Uh, Captain,
Yes.
I was trying to keep this. Zach was had these symptoms a few hours ago, and I told him then to go to med bay, and he didn't. But I think I'm just being paranoid, you know, because of my new position and everything.
If you
Um,
weren't paranoid, I'd say there's a problem.
um, he might also be exhibiting. Uh, well, let me just say he has a crush on Dr. Falkman and has been extremely nervous about running into her on the ship. And maybe it's just a response to that.
I'll maybe some of it. Of course, I don't confess to know how Caitians really deal with stress, but I'm pretty sure that again, if he is patient zero, if he is why I am having trouble seeing, and while some of the crew have reported temperature not being what it should, uh, it's either extremely virulent or he's just a patient, just like the rest of us.
Well, we're going on the assumption that there is some kind of illness on the ship, then there's no reason to believe that he was patient zero. You could have been infected long before.
Well, that's the funny thing. I literally went and got my physical done before I reported for shift, and as far as I'm aware, I was given a clean bill of health.
Hmm.
So this is something that has quite literally cropped up in a matter of hours.
And Krell, it just occurred to me that you actually passed that medical roll, but I did not give you any information.
Mhm.
What you were able to glean from scanning the hair on the chair was it just looks like Zach is shedding. You didn't pick up anything else.
So Krell will look up from his kneeling position where he is trying to scrape the hair off the chair using this really uh, infinitesimally small uh, roller. And he will look over at the captain. Actually, Captain, I probably should mention this earlier. It's entirely my fault. Not yours for ordering me to go and get the roller. It's entirely my
It's
fault, of
quite
course.
all
But
right. Get to the
uh,
point.
he's the crewman was just shedding. I didn't detect anything wrong. So maybe it's all just psychosomatic, like
Wait a
psychosomatic
second.
blindness that happens. That just maybe.
Are your eyes uh, watering, Captain?
No, they're not watering, but I am having trouble telling if that is a smiling face or a grimacing one. So
Is
I'm
it
doing a lot of guesswork right now.
is it possible that you're allergic to Cation fur?
You know, no one's ever really asked me that before. I suppose there's one way to test. Mr. Dolan, could I please see that lint roller for a moment?
Oh, absolutely, Captain. And he fumbles with it and it falls to the ground. And he races to scoop it up and then hands it over to you with a trembling hand.
All right, well, if I suddenly explode, I did it in the name of science, and I give it a good whiff to see if I'm allergic to cation.
Just because it needs to happen. Can you give me a medicine fitness difficulty of 1?
All right, well, the fitness I got, the medicine, not so much. It doesn't matter if I have a focus or not. Hey, one success.
Yeah, you feel it smells funny, and that's about it.
Well, I will not comment on certain officers' grooming habits, but it does not appear I am allergic to cation.
Hmm.
Maybe you should report to sickbay as well, then, Captain. This could be something serious.
Well, if someone would mind escorting me, not exactly sure I could get there under my own power. And I feel transporting is a grievous waste of ship resources.
Ensign
Ash,
Krell, do you... Sorry.
Ash, why don't you give me a command insight difficulty 2?
Okay. So augmented ability insight for a free success.
Not in this case.
Okay. Um, would any focuses apply, or
I don't think so.
would mental repository apply?
No.
Okay. Then, if everyone's all right with it, I'd like to give you a threat to buy an extra die.
Sure.
Ever since this whole conversation, really since you walked on the bridge, Senior Chief Harlock has been biting their nails and tapping their foot and tapping their hand on their console, and it is really annoying.
So, Commander Ash places a hand to her forehead, and she grimaces. And she says, "Ah, these damn headaches. This, uh, it's that telepathy. Harlock, what the hell are you doing? What is wrong?
What? What's going on?
What are you? You're tapping. You've been tapping at that console this entire time.
Oh, sorry. It's a little ditty to keep me awake during well, a shift like this. Though I get the sense that's going to change very quickly. I'll stop, and he does stop.
Thank you, crewman. Uh, right, Captain. Yeah, I do agree with the lieutenant's suggestion. Perhaps you should have Mr. Krell take you down to sickbay, or I mean, Krell has that tricorder right there. He could give you a preliminary scan right now.
And Nick sort of looks around the bridge. All right, I have a better idea. It's not one the chief medical officer is going to like, but I think it's probably safe for us to declare a medical quarantine of the bridge until we can get a hold of what's going on here. I don't want us moving throughout the ship until we determine what the spreading cause of all this is, if there is one.
And as soon as you say that, you see Lieutenant Allen hit several buttons on his console. And what color would a quarantine be? Would it be blue?
I think it would be
No.
yellow, maybe.
Okay. It's a yellow alert, but maybe the words on any panel where it says it are different. It says quarantine alert or something.
Yeah,
But
something
that
like
happens.
that.
Quarantine in place, sir. I've placed protective screens on every entrance to the bridge, and the rest of the ship is alerted to stay away from the bridge at the moment.
And let's extend that offer to any locations that our Cation friend has been through as well. And please alert main sickbay that we need somebody up here in quarantine gear as soon as possible. Oh, and Ash, if you could inform main engineering that we are delaying the QSD test.
Of course, Captain. And I would send up that report to Telek.
And we're actually going to transition to sickbay. And Faulkner, what's happened is you've gotten a lot more people start showing up in sickbay with strange symptoms like, headaches, getting warm. Some people are getting cold and just a lot of really odd symptoms. And sickbay is beginning to fill up. But then in walks Zach, who, you've known before. He hasn't really talked to you at all since you've been on the ship. But what catches your attention when he enters in the door is how wiry and crazed he looks. Like his eyes look kind of wild, and you notice that most of the hair on his body is missing, and he's torn some holes in his uniform, and he's still scratching at other parts of his body, pulling up threads of his uniform as he continues to do so, but he looks around and he's I need help. I need help.
Are you okay? Can you tell me what symptoms you're experiencing?
Hello, Lieutenant. If you do not remember me, my name is Chief Senior of the Chief Senior Zach of the tricorder. I repaired your tricorder. Yes, that is who I am.
Oh, of of course, I remember. Do you need some assistance? You look like you're not in great shape. Are you sick?
Yes, very, very pretty. I mean, of course, I do not mean I am pretty. I mean that I am. I'm overcome with an itch. I cannot stop it. I do not know what is wrong.
Okay. Take a seat over at this table here, and I'll do a quick scan of you and see if I can't figure out what is causing this itch.
And he walks over and he actually hops on the biobed. And as soon as he hops, he looks very nervous, and he jumps off the bed again, and he kind of walks around, and then he jumps back on. He can't seem to stay in one place.
If you're more comfortable standing, you can stand.
Do not think that comfort is going to happen. Sorry to take you away from your duties, Lieutenant. You seem very busy. I should go, and I will come back later.
No, no, no. This is part of my duties, so don't worry at all. And Astrid would like to do a scan if she can while he's moving around.
And while you're getting your tricorder, Astrid, that's when the alert comes on across the board of quarantine to the bridge.
Did you come from the bridge by chance?
I did. I should be on duty. I do not mean to take your time. You are a very, very important person. You have many things to do. Sorry. Yes.
No, you need to stay here because they just instituted a quarantine, so you need to stay in sick bay. Do you know which way you took to get to here? Maybe I should call the doctor.
Yes, I took main turbo lift to this deck. Normal, quickest way to get here.
Okay, I'll have to have those areas blocked off as well, just in case something is contagious. And she is going to quickly try to call the doctor over to make sure. I'm sure he's around somewhere, but just to get him back over to here. She is too nervous. She needs some backup.
And in a moment, the doctor appears, and you haven't worked too much with Dr. Jarvik. Again, this is only a week since you guys are out of space dock. But you notice immediately when he appears that the doctor looks very different. He looks much smaller, and in fact, his face it's shaped very differently, and like his fins are much shorter and closer to his body, and in fact he just looks generally smaller. And as he materializes, he doesn't even give you any attention, and he starts swimming around sickbay very quickly, not even like looking at you. And in fact, he's kind of doing laps through sickbay.
Sir, are you okay?
He doesn't even answer. He just keeps swimming.
Are you going to assist over here? Can she scan the doctor too?
Yeah, tell me which one you're going to start with. The doctor you kind of have to catch because he's going around sickbay.
I'm going to start with Zach and then the doctor.
Okay. I'd say Zach, and you will have a focus here. It's going to be a reason medicine difficulty of 2. It's 1 momentum. And you can use that momentum for more answers if you'd like about Zach. But your first scan, it looks like he's losing all of his hair.
Is there any sort of like skin irritation causing it that I can tell?
It does not look to be caused by any anything that he's touched. It almost looks like it's a genetic change in his DNA that's making him lose his fur.
Let's see. Can I tell if it's contagious or not?
No, it doesn't look contagious at all.
Okay. For now, I am going to, I guess a topical treatment would probably help the most. So Astrid will go over to the little, I guess, a replicator and just quickly replicate up some sort of treatment and come back over to him. I have this cream for you. You can apply it to the places that are most irritated, and I will see if I can figure out what is causing this and hopefully get you some relief soon.
Thank you, Lieutenant, for your assistance. And he looks at the doctor swimming around. Is that our doctor? Is that normal?
I just need to catch up with him right now, but please call me over if you need anything else.
Yes,
And she's just gonna run after the doctor, trying to scan him. Doctor, please, if you don't mind stopping for a moment.
And it even looks like the doctor is smaller than when he materialized before, if that's possible. But it's hard to get a good look at him because he keeps swimming around so quickly. But for the doctor, that's going to be a medicine insight, a difficulty of 4, a medicine reason, sorry, difficulty of 4, and you do have a focus.
We do have that one momentum from your previous success.
Okay. What else can I do? Do I want to pay threat? I guess so. I will do that. I will roll 4.
It's a 2 threat.
Yes.
Well, you crushed that. So 1 more momentum. The doctor is undergoing something quite unusual. It looks as though something has triggered dormant sections of his DNA, and he has actually started to de-evolve into perhaps an origin species or an earlier stage in his evolution, which looks like some kind of small fish, but he's changing before your eyes.
And of course, he's not actually here.
Yeah, you're looking at, I should say, you're looking at the hologram of the doctor. So your scan, we'll just say, was kicked around to deck 6. That makes more sense.
Yeah, I'm sure you can tell the computer to do that scan remotely. Okay. And she's going to call up the bridge, I suppose. Excuse me, Captain. We seem to have a problem here in sick bay.
Well, that would resonate with the problem we have up here. Can you be more specific?
It seems that I'm not quite sure what's causing it, but something is causing some genetic changes in some of our staff, including the doctor. It seems almost as if he's de-evolving.
De-evolving. Why does that sound so familiar? And then mostly to the bridge, not really to the lieutenant. Anybody ever heard of a de-evolution virus or something to that effect? I feel like I have somewhere, and I can't really put my finger on where.
Krell would look absolutely aghast and start like trembling slightly. Just Captain, there was a man by the name of Reginald Barclay on board the Enterprise D, and yeah, he actually had a disease named after him, Barclay's protomorphosis disorder. Might want to look into that, maybe. I don't know. It's just maybe a silly idea. Maybe I don't know. Just something.
Did you get all that, Lieutenant?
I can. Yes. I'll look into Barclay's condition, see if that might help at all. Um, but just so you know, right now we are a little bit inundated at sick bay, so please stay in the bridge and maybe instruct people to stay in their quarters if possible, so that we don't risk too much else happening on the bridge or on the ship rather.
Good idea, Doctor. And from her chairside panel, that she's memorized, even without the ability to really see, she presses the button that sounds general quarters.
And Ash, Chief Harlock, there is something on his console, on their console, that is beeping. And it's been beeping for several minutes. And you know they could, if they wanted to, hit something and stop it, but they haven't done it.
Ash is going to rise from her chair and, rubbing the back of her neck, is going to stalk over to the console, smash her fist down onto the section of the console that would actually control the noise that's being made, and turn to Harlock and growl, "Look, do your job, Harlock. All right, attend to your console, would you?"
Whoa, 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 whoa! You just broke my console. I mean, look at it. There's spider lines all over it.
It's still functional.
I'd like to spend 2 threat to make it no longer functional.
Hey,
I don't
I
know if
like
I
it.
could do that as a player.
No, I'll do it. Sure. I like it. The helm is no longer functional.
I think when that happens, Alan has definitely moved from his position. Is now moved to about this position, and is kind of expecting some sort of confrontation and hopes to break it up if it happens.
Look,
Just
I mean, I get it. I get it. You know, you don't like the way I run the con, but I'm a damn good flyer.
you're not even running the con. You're ignoring warning klaxons. I mean, what,
No, I'm pretty sure if there was a warning klaxon, I would have heard it.
trust me, the entire bridge could hear it.
Nick
Did
sort of looks up and says, no, no warning klaxons here."
did I hear it?
If you heard it, it blended into the background noise. It was not an alarm that would have gathered your attention.
It was so loud. And she clutches at her ears. Is everyone but me deaf?
Well, and this is Nick's talking. Ash, why don't you take a seat? It seems we found out how you're being affected by whatever this is.
No, I mean, you're going blind. Maybe you're all going deaf too.
All right, Ash, I'm going to need you to take a few deep breaths and take a seat.
And Ash will just plop down into the chair there, almost in a huff. Everyone's.
And Ash, you would have expected to hear from engineering by now, but you haven't.
That damn Vulcan. And she will slap her comm badge. Commander Ash to engineering.
Intellect will pick up. Engineering? Yes? Do you need some help here?
I need you to do your job. I think we've had this conversation before. What's going on down there?
I mean, right now I have called EX33 back and I have Wrench looking, and we are trying to find if I. May I speak to the captain, please?
No, you're talking to me. And what I'd like to do is actually, sorry, Talek, GM Josh, I'd like to try to introduce a complication with my value regarding Vulcans. And
Sure.
yeah. So I'd like to have Ash act completely irrationally. And I'm basically going to order Talek to stand down because he clearly can't get the job done down there, and turn engineering over to someone else.
For that, Ash, I'll give you determination.
Okay. All right, Commander, you're relieved of duty. There's a virus or something going around the ship. This level of incompetence is even beyond you. So turn the engineering section over to EX33, and he's in command now. They, whatever. Just report to your quarters.
May I speak freely, Commander?
No, you may not speak freely.
Well, you see, I'm honestly not sure if it's safe to speak to you right now, so I will be speaking with the captain momentarily, and I will be. Have a good day, Commander. And Tilek will hang up and call the captain.
Literally a 5 feet away
Yes,
conversation.
100%.
Yeah, and the captain goes, "Go ahead, Dalek. I have a feeling you are about to ask me if all of that was valid."
And he will be speaking very quietly, hopefully so that others cannot hear very well, depending on the volume of the communicator. Captain, I believe that there may be some Jem'Hadar on the ship, and I am not sure whether or not the commander has been replaced by one or not.
A Jem'Hadar replacing
Mhm.
someone. Well, that's a new one. Why don't you go ahead and go to your quarters and secure it against any Jem'Hadar invaders? Worst case, we can use your quarters as a fallback point.
Understood. Will do, Captain.
And then I hang up and I just sigh and I say, "Well, this is what's the human expression? Turning into a needle in the haystack? No, that's not right. Barn burning? Sure, that sounds right. A barn burning."
Captain, I told you, that man is incompetent. I mean, he's having flashbacks to the war.
And you are being slightly irrational right now, commanders, but I'm willing to be the bigger person and look past it right now.
Well, all this is going on. Can I use my tactical station to scan for any sort of ships or anomalies that are in the general vicinity? Everyone seems to be acting crazy.
Sure, David. Give me a security. No, it's probably a security reason, and this is going to be a difficulty of 5.
Oh, there's no way. Oh, we don't have any.
You do have one right now.
We have one.
None of my investigations maybe as a focus. I'm
Yeah.
investigating. You said security reason?
Yeah, it was a 5. You guys do have advanced sensor suite, so it becomes a 4, and it's a security reason. Yeah.
And the ship can assist?
Yeah, the ship can assist. Let's say with security sensors.
I'll grab the ship.
And you're saying we have a momentum to burn?
Yes.
It's right on top of you.
Oh, I see it. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely use that.
For difficulty 4, you'd probably need to spend 2 threat or tap a value.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of my values apply to this. This is just me going, what the hell? And if I fail, I fail. It's fine.
If he dies, he dies. Okay.
Yeah, and if the ship will back me up. I trust the ship, or I'll do that.
All right, well, let's see if the ship gets us anywhere. All right, so we have the requisite number of successes, but there is a complication on the field.
I think I'm going to keep the threat from the complication. Alan, you did detect something at an interesting phase variance off of the main docking port of the ship. You think you did, but when you scan it again, it is not there. But you could swear that you saw it.
Okay. Captain, I don't know if this is just me being affected by this, but I just did a scan and something was there at the docking port. It's not there when I scan again, but it was there.
And of
I
course,
suggest we go to red alert.
with sightless eyes, I look at you and I say, do you remember the frequency, the phase variance it was at?
Do I remember the exact frequency?
It's at phase variance 2,
2.
because I'm not
It's
feeling very
some
creative
number.
today.
Yeah, it's some number. But after I get the number, is it possible for
Awesome.
Nyx to sort of think it through and compare similar phase frequencies?
Yeah, Nix, I'd say for you, it would probably be a science reason. The difficulty is going to be pretty high because not only what you're trying to remember, but also your current conditions. I think it's going to be a 5. And
Oof.
actually, I'm going to spin some threat, make it a 6.
So, I mean, it is technically possible for me to do this. Could I swing engineering? Like, I'm not approaching this from a science perspective. I'm thinking of what sort of technology could produce such a field.
Yeah, we can do that. I'll give you engineering related answers then.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Can I assist? Because I'm also looking at this information.
This is Nix recalling something. I would allow an assist,
Okay.
Nix, if you're going to actually talk to Alan and you two work together.
Yeah, I think this is more of Nyx speaking out loud as she's thinking, can that do that? No, that can't do that. What about that? No. Basically that back and forth where she's just, thinking aloud through the process. Unfortunately, though, even with you assisting me, I can't advisor doesn't come into play because I'm not using command.
Right.
I think what I'll do though is I will spend my determination, and I actually have 2 that I think could apply here. Either not afraid to get my hands dirty, or my knowledge and skills must be applied for the greater good. I think either could apply.
Yeah, those fit.
All right, so there's 2 successes to start things off. Well, I guess it's important. I need to roll and see if I get my determination back from veteran. I do not. So I will give you. Do I shiz know this or do I not? Yeah, I think this is an important enough task that I'm going to shiz know it. You can have 5 threat.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, so 40-20. Would xenotechnology be a good focus here?
I would apply. Yeah.
All right, well, good news. We
Yeah.
have a grand total of 7 successes on the board before the assist.
Alan, you
And
can
what-
assist with a security insight, and you do have a focus.
shipboard tactical systems or investigation.
Yeah.
One.
But still 7 successes. Nix, what you're gleaming from this is it's most likely a phase cloak.
That was my out of character suspicion, so it's a good thing I confirmed it in character. In terms of technology wise, where we are in the timeline, do we know the Romulans have developed phase cloaking technology, or to borrow from another campaign, is this a hope scenario where the Romulans are nowhere near this level of technology?
Phasing technology has been encountered. It's not exactly secret. What is secret is the Federation does not have that technology, at least nothing on the books. But you're aware of it being out there.
So, following that train of thought, would I have a potential way of disrupting it?
You have you probably can come up with some ideas. I'll let you tell me if Nyx has ever encountered a phase cloak before. I'd say most likely not.
Yeah, I'm looking at what I have written down for her backstory. Actually, I do have written down that she was a part of a breakthrough or invention. I'm thinking that maybe, just maybe, that part of her thesis at Starfleet Academy part of her engineering thesis was how one could break through a phase cloak, how one could detect a phase cloak as opposed to a quote unquote normal cloak. And I like to flavor it that way because maybe that gives you some plot threads for the Hope game as well.
Sure. So you can come up with some ideas. Based on this roll, since you did so well, this phase variance makes sense for a vessel that would be like scale 3. So this is not going to be like a warbird size. This would probably be something small.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I, of course, changed tact immediately as I realized what technology we're dealing with here, and I turned to, again, looking at Alan, and I say, Mr. Allen, tell me, would you prefer a boarding solution or a more tactical solution?
I prefer whatever solution gets this off the ship, sir.
Very well. I'm sending you encoded instructions. And again, because she has memorized the command pad, she is able, maybe with a complication, she is able to type in a set of coordinates along with a phaser variance. And I would like to spend the one momentum I got and a threat to create the advantage that if he hits, this will completely disrupt the cloak.
Sounds good. I'm going to make a complication that is, since you're so impaired, the complication range on Alan's task is going to be much higher.
I mean, I think that's fair. Maybe I fat fingered the wrong button.
Yep. You tell him to actually target a nacelle or something instead of what you're thinking.
Right. And the point of this is me not saying it aloud is because I don't know if there's literally phased Romulans just chilling on the bridge right now. So this is my attempt at, trying to keep them unaware.
Well, while this is happening, go ahead. Go ahead, Alan.
I just start wordlessly typing those coordinates into the weapon systems.
And while this is happening, we transition to engineering. So, Telek, I think you were headed out towards your quarters, right?
Yes, he was heading out towards his quarters, although I'm not sure how well they'll do with wrench handling things, but hopefully EX33 will come in.
Well, in fact, that's what you encounter, Telek, as you walk out the door of engineering. You see EX33 on the ground on his side, just outside the doors to main engineering.
I'll pick him up and sort of see if I can figure out what went wrong with him, why he's not functioning.
It does look like he has been damaged in some way. It doesn't look like from just a cursory glance. It doesn't look like from an energy weapon, but some parts on him are missing.
Is it like his entire system is not working, or just like maybe his propulsion system isn't working?
You'd have to do a little more of an analysis, but it looks like he's deactivated and some components are missing at just a first glance.
Okay. I'll take him back into engineering. I want to see if I can at least fix him so that he can say if he saw anything. I'm sure we have extra parts around.
Oh, yeah. Let's do an engineering reason for you, difficulty of 2.
And this would count as emergency repairs?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
As you're getting, you're checking him out, you just see out the corner of your eye what you've been looking for, and you look back and you see Wrench standing over one of the engineering consoles.
Ensign Wrench, what are you doing?
Oh, Commander, I'm just monitoring the intake pressure on the warp manifold.
Take a seat, Ensign.
Yeah, yes, sir. And he looks around for a seat. Can I just lean?
Sure.
And
Either there or sit on the floor, whatever.
And he backs up against the wall and just leans and is very confused.
I'm sorry, I gotta give you a complication here.
No.
Alan, you lean up against something critical, and some lights on engineering turn off, and a little alarm starts going off. You
And
accidentally
he turns.
Select is going to
He turns and
Well,
starts like
I wanna call
furiously
security, but I don't know who to
patting
call.
his hands on everything, trying to turn it back on, whatever it was. I assume
guess-
tons of different warning lights go on and off as he does this.
Oh yeah, lots of alarms. Telek, it looks like he may have cut power to the phaser arrays.
Wrench back away from the station, and Select is going to call Zach. Actually,
Commander, I could fix this.
don't do anything.
Oh, okay.
Chief Zach, are you available to come to engineering?
Yes, Commander. I am on my way. I will. And you hear some. It sounds like a scratching sound. I will be there very shortly. Give me a moment.
And Select's basically going to loom over Wrench, keeping him away from the console until Zach arrives.
You see, Commander, if this had been a Binford, we wouldn't have had a problem here.
A Benford warp core. I love it.
So,
Remind me where you worked before this assignment.
well, before this, I was on the USS Agatha, but I was only there for 3 months, and then I was on Deep Space 4 for 3 months, and then I was on the USS Window Marker, because that's what's in front of me. But that only lasted 6 months. I have a surprising amount of assignments. Huh. What do you ask?
I'm trying to distract him long enough for Zach to get here.
And not too long after that, Zach does arrive, so he managed to slip out of sickbay. Immediately, Telek, as you notice, as he comes in, most of his hair is missing, and he was an impressive Cation before on just his size, but perhaps now a little more terrifying, because I don't know if you've ever seen a hairless cat, or even a hairless, especially maybe not a hairless Cation, but as he walks in, he has a very chaste look in his eyes, and he's furiously scratching his uniform, which is in shambles at this point. And he's also even like, as he walks in, he goes up to the guardrail and he's rubbing his body against it. And he's like, Commander, I am here to assist you. What do you need?
I need you to arrest this ensign.
Whoa! I didn't bring any cocaine on this trip, I swear.
I don't believe that he is the ensign or a member of Starfleet, let's say.
And Zach bounds over the guardrail, runs up to you, Wrench, and he immediately seizes you. And you notice Wrench, as he grabs you, he's very toothy, like his fangs are bared, and he grabs you, and you notice like his skin is very coarse. There's some tufts of hair here and there, but he's mostly hairless.
Chief, your breath. Oh, I've been through this before. I can just take the position. It's fine. Starts putting his hands behind his back.
And Zach says to you to like, I should what should I do with him? Should I disintegrate him?
No, bring him to the brig while I prepare our other ensign.
Yes, Commander, I will do that. I will take him into custody. And don't you, and he says to you, Wrench, don't you try to do anything. I've had a very bad day.
I can believe it, Chief. The chief is probably squishing him a little too hard.
Yeah, he's not exhibiting much restraint on how he's holding Wrench.
But
Once
he doesn't
Wrench is,
resist.
I want to just. He'll probably start working on EX-33.
Before we do that transition to the bridge, let's maybe give that a shot to Lex. So Wrench and Zach make their way off. Telek, you do still hear alarms in engineering on the console that Wrench leaned up against, but if you want to try to fix EX33, we can give that a shot too.
I think I'll probably try to fix them before I handle the console because I'm not thinking right.
Since you failed to figure out really what was wrong with them, you can just try to fix him blind by, just plugging in things. I think that would be an engineering daring under these circumstances, treating it kind of like a first aid. I'll say the difficulty's a 3.
I'll do that, and I'll use my determination. Machines are easier to understand than people.
That works.
That would still count as emergency repairs.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you have 2 momentum from that. So you managed to figure out what is going on with the X33. It looks like a part of his power relay system was removed forcibly, and you found an equivalent through parts and engineering, and you replace it. And in just a moment, his lights come back on. His little things on the top of his body, like the little antennas, start moving back and forth. He makes a sound, and he rises slowly off the table and turns towards you. Commander, thank you for repairing me. I'm sorry I was damaged and rendered unoperational. I hope it was not too much of a bother.
Ensign, can you report what you observed before being damaged?
Indeed, Commander. If I replay through my history, I was proceeding towards engineering to see if I could assist with anything, when some heavy force knocked me into the side of the corridor, and then I believe something attacked me, and I'm unable to recall. My visual scanner did not detect anything. Quite alarming. I may have more damage to my systems than I first thought.
No, Ensign, that's very useful information. I think I know what happened to you. And just assist me in repairing this console, please. And the 2 of them will go over to repair the console that Wrench broke.
And as the 2 make their way over to the console, now we'll jump back to the bridge. Alan, just as you're beginning to plan, whatever your weapons are going to do, you notice that the main phaser array goes offline.
Oh, Captain, we've lost power to the phasers.
Well, that's what the secondary reactors are for. Just reroute through the auxiliary ionic feed generator.
I'm having no success here, Captain. It looks like the whole array's just down.
Okay, then you have 2 options before you. Either A, you can go out on the hull with a phaser yourself and shoot, or you can fire a torpedo and do so in a way that doesn't damage the ship.
These are both terrible. I mean, sir, I will get the phasers back online.
Oh, whoa. And Ash would leap out of her chair. Those are 2 incredibly stupid ideas, Captain. That's idiocy. All you have to do is reroute power to the deflector grid. I mean, the deflector dish itself is designed to channel more power than any phaser array. Right? If we set it to a variance of 0.04 microns, we could simply have the same effect on a phased vessel as a phaser shot.
Well, thank you for revealing my plan to the entire bridge there, Ash.
Well, it was obvious, Captain, so if anyone here, and she gestures out into the nothingness around her, is listening to us, I would probably be able to hear their thoughts. And GM, do I hear any thoughts on the bridge from people that...
You don't hear a thing, and in fact, as you focus, you have more of a headache than before.
Okay. Damn. And she grabs at her head. Now, see, there's nobody here, okay? So, there. And she just slumps down into her chair, cradling her head again.
Commander, I know you seem to be in some pain, but I think I'll probably need your help on this one.
Yeah. Well, Seeing as engineering has let us down yet again, I can understand why you'd need that. All right, Lieutenant. So, GM, would it be actually possible to, either with an increased complication range or potentially with a complication of too much power being rerouted and not being able to disable the vessel or just destroying it outright, use the deflector dish to generate the kind of pulse we've been talking about?
Yeah, you could certainly pull off what you're going for. Tell me, Ash, are you trying to disable this or are you trying to destroy it?
Um, I know the captain has suggested we should disable it, but I don't care either way. So I'm just going to try to like hastily get through the process of modifying it without caring about what impact it will have on the vessel.
Because it's going against Starfleet values, I will say that in your current condition, if you do this, the difficulty will be the same. If you do the captain's plan, the difficulty will be a little bit higher. But if you go with your plan to destroy it, I'll actually give you a determination. So you will have 3 determination already.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to try to destroy it because that fits better with my values, I think.
Okay, when we start plugging this, because we're both doing this, when I start plugging this information into my system, do I notice that this could potentially destroy? Or am I thinking that it's just something to disable and reveal?
Ash, would you be taking steps to try to hide this from anyone, or are you just going for it?
No, I would just be going for it. I'm overwhelmed with the agony of this headache, and I just want this to be over with. So I would be doing this in plain sight of everyone.
Yeah, so I think, Alan, you're very competent at your job. You would see what's going on here.
Damn it. Commander, I think you've applied a little too much power to the deflector dish for this.
Yeah, of course I do. You think we're actually going to get enough power from engineering? Do you think they maintain the power systems appropriately? No.
Captain, if we apply this much power to this attack, it's going to destroy whatever's attached to our ship.
Given that the crew is in peril, I see no other option unless those who are clearly somewhere nearby wish to talk things out peacefully. In fact, there's an idea. I tap the button that does a ship-wide hail, and I say, to the invading alien species that has been experimenting on us, I'm going to give you this one and only chance to resolve things peacefully. Either reveal yourselves and allow us to talk things out, or we will be destroying your vessel. You have 1 minute to comply.
I'm assuming, Crow, you still have your medical tricorder on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't you give me a medicine reason difficulty of 1?
Okay. Who or what would I be scanning? Just generally, or?
Yeah, you'll get, if you succeed on this, you'll get some information, not necessarily that Krell was scanning, but so like the tricorder will give you like an emergency message.
Would anyone mind if I purchased another D20 on that?
Go for it.
Oh, nice. See, his true calling is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't seen it with a phaser rifle yet.
That's a different kind of medicine.
True, get out your medical
Both
phasers.
equally important.
So basically, the tricorder, Krell, you weren't scanning, but it's set up to give you an emergency warning if it detects something in the general area, like a medical emergency or like a preemptive thing. Like before there's a problem, it'll let you know. In this case, it's picked up something from Ash, and it's beeping very loudly.
Can I identify what that actually is?
If you give me momentum, I'll give you that answer.
Yeah, I don't want my actual main character to die. So yes, if that's okay with everyone, I'd like to spend 1 momentum to actually ask what is the specific nature of the condition that is affecting her.
The condition
Well-
that the tricorder has picked up is that Ash currently has an extraordinary high amount of serotonin in their bloodstream, which is probably keying into their aggressive behavior. I'd say Ash's normal levels, this is like 30 times higher than normal.
Oh, okay. Is there any way that I could devise a treatment to regulate the neurotransmitters and the neurochemistry of her brain to suppress the production of that?
If you give me another momentum, I can give you more information, or if you'd like, you can succeed at cost to learn some more about what's going on.
Yeah, if that's all right with everyone again. I think I would throw in another point of momentum to get more information regarding the nature of the condition or what it is that's producing this effect.
Yeah,
What-
I agree. It's an important spend.
When you actually pull out the tricorder and just run the external scanner in the general direction of Ash, the tricorder picks up, based off of the information you guys have already gleaned from the phase variants, a device that seems to be slightly out of phase. It's connected to Ash's amygdala and has her entire prefrontal cortex completely out of whack. It's also, her amygdala is just being flooded with serotonin. So to cure her easily, remove this thing that's stuck in the back of her head and give her an injection that would lower her serotonin levels, and she should be fine.
Well, Commander Ash, I might have something that might be able to help you with that headache, if that's possible. I mean, and she just like stares at him uncomprehendingly. Right, Captain. Yeah. There's something sticking out of Commander Ash's head, and he'll show her the tricord readings. Oh, that's right. You're blind. Sorry, that was
Just
really
switch
offensive.
the tricorder to tactile mode. I can feel it out.
Right. That's a great. That is why you're captain. And he will switch the tricorder to tactile mode and hand it over to her.
And I do that sort of blind person, braille reading, motion over the tricorder. And I actually smile. I say, yep, that was my second guess.
And there's
I
another
actually
beep,
believe-
Captain, as it's picked up something from you, which, if you give me momentum, I'll allow you to, I'll give you some more information about what it's picked up from you.
Oh, I have a feeling I already know what it is, because I think in character I'm going to say, well, if there are any Srivani here, yeah, I thought we made this very clear with Voyager that if you experimented on us again, we would have some major issues. So again, I'm going to be very nice. I'm going to say you can either come clean and or remove your technology, or I can activate quantum slipstream jive in such a way that will tear your ship away in such a violent fashion that you will be scattered into atoms across the entire Delta Quadrant. Which would you prefer? And I'd love to roll Presence Command because I'd like to use Rattle to maybe even amplify the effect.
Sure, go for it. Presence
right.
Command, difficulty 4.
All right, well, how much momentum do we have right now? We've got 1. I will take that 1. I would say that this is definitely a social conflict, or at least I would say that it is. So that already gets me an additional d20. The complication range is higher. It is a 16 to 20. But let's see. I'll give you 1 momentum, 1 threat, so that I roll 4 dice total here. All right, so 4 dice. Yes, and a focus.
Ooh.
3. And I don't think there's any way. Yeah, that's a complication. I don't think there's any way I can really. Yeah, there's nothing I can really do here to re-roll that because I don't have my determination anymore. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to fail this one unless I can succeed at cost.
I'm going to take a look at your values and see if there's something I can.
I mean, I'm looking at them and I'm trying to twist them, but I'm just not seeing a way to do it.
You have a value called peace is always an option. If I challenge that and I can if you let me put this in Nyx's mind, then I'll give you determination here. I think at this point, Nyx feels that peace is not an option. You're going to have to blow these people up. If that's the approach that you'll take, I'll give you determination.
No, I think she's going to stick to her value here. I think she is going to continue to give them a way out, and I'm going to turn down that determination.
Okay.
But yeah, that does mean I fail with a complication.
I think I'm going to save the threat there.
If I may, I think at this point, Ash, having overheard this entire conversation and reviewed the material on her console regarding the alien species that ELH mentioned that was running those clandestine experiments on Voyager, she would try to activate the main deflector. So she would try to put into effect that plan, this time deliberately concealing it from everyone, but that also sending a short message on her console to Lieutenant Allen, telling him that this is exactly one of those moments that they talked about earlier on, when their ingenuity and their willingness to work outside the box is going to be what's necessary to save the ship.
I like it. So, to tell you what we're going to do here, this would be like a lethal attack on that ship. And I think in the current conditions, you can be pretty sure that it will destroy them if you channel as much power through the deflector as you're thinking, Ash. I'd say that it's going to be a security daring difficulty of 6.
Oh,
And I think the way you're approaching this precludes the ship from helping you. I think this is all you on your own. You can get an assist from Alan, and Alan, you can tell us how you would react. But Ash, that's the difficulty you're going to be facing.
Now,
I don't.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't. Alan would not want to do this, but I think once it's clear that this is an order from the commander. This is what the commander's going to do. Lieutenant Allen goes with it, mainly because of that conversation.
Okay.
If you both, it's a security daring, and the difficulty is 6. And I took 2 threat off of my pool because I should only be able to do a 5 difficulty and then increase it by 1 with a complication. So that's where that threat went.
I can't use a value when I'm assisting, right?
No, unfortunately, you can't do determination.
With respect to determination spends, I have 3 at this point.
Mhm.
Can all 3 be spent at the same time, or can you only spend 1 per roll?
You can do 2 up. You can do 1 for the 2 up front, and then after the roll, you can choose to re-roll. But you can't like double up on the free successes, at least to my knowledge.
I'll have to
Can you
check to see if you can re-roll twice. I don't know about that.
No, I think it's. I'm looking at it now. I'm not seeing the repeatable symbol.
Cool. Thank you.
But there is something you can do, and we should have probably remembered this sooner. Since you're first officer, anytime someone spends their determination, then you could have spent 3 momentum to regain that point. If that person could have regained that point of determination.
Isn't there something where you can use determination to create an advantage? Or
There might be. Hold on.
If there's not, that sounds
Yes.
fair to me.
That is one of the things you can do. It is in my little quick reference sheet.
Cool. Thank you, Nick.
okay.
Yeah, make it
So-
so the character immediately creates an advantage that applies to the current scene.
So what I would say is, I'm going to tap the value. I don't even need a reason to buck the system. So in this case, I'm going to create an advantage whereby synergizing the systems of the ship with the records regarding phase variance from the Starship Voyager's logs will allow us to actually more precisely calibrate the burst. And I am using that value in the sense that I'm directly going against the captain's orders.
I like
So
it.
that would reduce the difficulty by 1.
So it's a
I
5
will
now?
I will desperately try to rack my brains to focus on this task about modulating the deflectors and the like, And so that would bring it down to, with mental repository, would that bring it down to a 4?
Yeah, I think so. I'm
And
going to
then,
increase the complication range with some threat here to make the complication range is 17 to 20.
okay. And then I'll tap another value to get those 2 free successes. Don't strike when it can be avoided honorably, but the unforgivable crime is striking softly. So I'm trying to destroy them outright, and, well, I'm not striking softly.
So you're halfway there.
And then I'm going to give you 2 threat to roll 3 dice. And it was
Security daring.
Security daring, yep.
yeah.
And the complication range 17 to 20 applies to both you, Ash, and you, Alan, as well.
How many threat would it be to actually roll 4?
You'd have to
5?
give me 3 more threat.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to do that, if that's all right with everyone.
I mean, I have
can
no
never-
complaints.
You can never have too much threat.
Well, you can, because then you reach a point where you just can't spend it. So,
Well, right now he could throw a Borg sphere at us, but it's not cube levels, and that's the key distinction.
now would, let's say, quantum mechanics apply here?
I think so.
Oh,
Wow.
And I will spend a momentum to reroll those 3 zeros.
You have a determination that you could use, I
Determination.
think, to reroll this.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah. So, daring and security.
how many do you need right now? Just one more?
He needs one more, yeah.
Oh,
So it might come out from Alan's roll. Because he did get 1 success.
I
on
already
the
did.
conceal. Oh, you did. You got, so the difficulty, no, you made
Was
it because
4.
it was 4. He took it down with determination
got
to
it
2
then.
successes. And then
Yeah,
2,
he got it, but there's 2 complications.
2 complications. All right, so the first, okay, let me describe what happens here, Ash, is you trigger the main deflector. There is a blindingly bright light as basically the deflector creates a field across the ship, and the view screen shows something coming off the side of the ship. You only see it. It's like a ball of fire, and it explodes immediately. But that explosion happens virtually on top of the ship. And the complications I'm going to spend here are some hull breaches, in fact. And let's see, I'm going to roll 2 system hits, and that will be the 2 hull breaches to reflect each complication that the ship has received. Structure, okay, which means I have to roll some challenge dice. And engines, okay, so challenge dice, I need to see if someone's hurt. We have 5 people on the bridge, starting in order from Krell down and across. That would have Harlock be number 5. If we get a 6, I'm going to apply the hull breach somewhere else. If I get a effect on the challenge dice roll, that is. I did?
Yep.
Okay, so let's see what I get out of the d6 roll.
Should be Ash. But... Oh, I
It
think
is Ash. It is Ash.
Beautiful.
Wow. Okay, so
Nice. You know how we have those regulation rocks and sparklers in the consoles?
So Ash, what happens is immediately once the explosions just rack the ship back and forth, your console actually explodes and you take an injury.
Okay.
I think at this point you'd have to give me threat to avoid that injury, or you could actually go out unconscious on the scene.
I think, I think I'd go unconscious. That way, the captain can't yell at me.
Oh no.
That's a good
I'll
way
just
of
wait till you
avoiding it.
wake up and then I'll yell at you then.
But Alan, on your screen, you can see the engines of the ship, which I will say the warp engines on the ship are out.
Captain, warp engines are down.
And I'm guessing
Do I-
by the
do I see
Wilhelm
that the-
scream that I heard that a certain member that may have pushed the button is now lying on the bridge floor.
Yeah, Ash is on the floor.
Did I notice that or how obvious was it that whatever ship was attached to us is now destroyed?
Oh, it was very
Was
obvious. You saw it on the main viewer. You
like
saw it like peel
Bird of
off the ship and
Prey
explode.
at the end of Star Trek 6 getting destroyed by the photon torpedoes? Just,
No, we didn't reuse that footage in this episode. It was just actually a ball of flame. You couldn't tell the details of what it was.
more Death Star, okay. Uh, but Captain, whatever was attacking us, it's destroyed. It's gone.
Well, I can see we're going to have a very serious conversation about Captain's orders once this is all done, but can you do a scan to make sure that we don't have any Srivani or similar still on board?
Absolutely, sir. And I'll begin doing internal sensor scans as well as putting security on alert to do sweeps.
And Alan, you get so far as to start typing in the command for the scan when appearing in front of the captain is an alien. We know it as a Srivani, basically humanoid-esque except for some strange-looking ears, and then also like some tattoos or darker region of their skin and the front of the forehead. But this person appears, and they have actually tears a little bit out of the corner of one of their eyes, and they're looking around the ship, or the bridge anyway, and they're very silent.
I stand up and point a phaser at them, but I don't shoot. I just hold my fire. Captain, there is an alien standing in front of you.
I do that snake thing where they taste the air with their tongue and turn to look at Aizen. So, you decide now to show up instead of when I was offering peace.
Aizen looks up, and they say, I think that's enough. I think you've killed enough of my people. Drop us off if you can, and go on your way. You and your people are a blight to the galaxy.
A blight, you say? We're not the ones running unethical experiments on others without their permission, and ones that would have gladly taken an offer of peace if it was offered. Instead, you chose to remain concealed and assaulting the members of my crew. Now, I'm guessing that I have one critically injured lying on my bridge floor, and I have, 4 or 5 of your species somewhere on my ship?
The point of my mission was to ascertain the intention of your ship. The last time a vessel of your kind, of your people, came through this area of space, you created a wake of destruction and anarchy in your path. We were examining your crew to see if you would be fit for a first contact.
Well, technically it would be second contact after you pulled this little stunt with Voyager. I find it very narrow-minded of you that you would immediately assume that we were out here to cause even more problems, or we didn't come out this way to fix the problems that Voyager created. Frankly, I think you've acted in quite a vulgar way. You are the reason that this series of events has happened.
So do your people not evaluate species before you make contact? Well,
We do evaluate them, yes, but we don't run medical experiments on them. We do our best to, what's the expression, to not put a fox in the hen house. What you've done is something completely different and goes against everything that Starfleet stands for.
Believe me, I'm now well acquainted with what Starfleet stands for. Our mission was to see the various races on this vessel, how you would respond to increasing tension and conflict. Conflict which your people have left, as I said, in your wake from the last time that you were here. And
you think this is ethical? If the situations were reversed and we were performing these vile experiments on your species, on your ship, would you not act the same way?
if we knew what you were capable of, we certainly would. This is the second
Then I
time my
believe
people
you
have
have the
encountered
answer.
a ship from your species, and the second time the ship has killed our people.
And I would simply point out this is the second time that, again, instead of approaching us with open arms and a willingness to learn, you went behind our backs.
We are a cautious people, and this is the way that we learn is by observing those before us. It's one thing to
Well,
observe a species in an ideal situation. The way you really know someone is when you see them in an adverse situation.
well, I will say something that's very similar to what Janeway said. You're in the wrong here, and I want you off my fucking ship.
Well, it appears as though I am at your mercy. You've destroyed my ship. You've killed my crew.
And
I
at this
will.
point, I just tune him out and look in the direction of Alan. Alan, get him to the brig. See that he's put off the ship at the earliest we can find a place for him.
I move towards him and try and move to disarm him.
I think you find, Alan, you don't really see any weapons on their person. It looks like some scanning devices or other sorts of equipment, but nothing that really jumps out as a weapon.
I take all of that off of him, and I then I leave Krell to help Ash, and I personally begin escorting our guest to the brig. We're also asking him to reveal if any other of his people are here on the ship.
Alzin says, yes, my people will comply. And as you're walking out, they do that thing where they stop right at the door and they turn to you, Captain. And they say, I think you'll find, Captain, that this area of space is much less hospitable since the last time one of your vessels passed through it, primarily because they passed through it. I think you would do well to remember that you are the intruder here.
Nyx honestly doesn't show any sign that she even heard that. She just is looking vaguely in the direction of Krell and Ash at this point.
And as Alan leads Alzane into the turbolift, you say, "You blinded the captain? Come on!" And then the doors close.
So, Krell, what I need you to do here for Ash is a medicine roll, just a first aid to see if you can get Ash suitable to end the scene and then move into sick bay. So it's a I believe it's a daring medicine, difficulty of 2.
Okay. I'll give you 1 threat for that, and I'm assuming would field medicine apply?
Yeah.
So, daring medicine. Nope. So he's fumbling around with the medical tricorder. He drops it, falls out of his hands. He reaches for his phaser and pulls it out, looks at it for a second, shakes his head, stuffs it back into its holster. Captain, I have to take the commander down to sickbay. I mean, I'm really not. This is not my job. I'm a ground
Get
tactical.
them to sick bay.
That's yes, sir, ma'am, Captain.
I
Stay.
will allow
Look,
you to succeed at cost, Krell, to save Ash. However, if you succeed at cost, which I'm sure you'll go for this option, but I'm going to create a complication on Ash, which is actually going to be a trait, I think, with so much that's happened with Ash, and it's going to be a negative situation that's going to affect their character kind of long term from all of this.
Sounds great. I mean, no, it sounds horrible, but sounds interesting. So yes, I will succeed at cost with that stipulation.
So Ash, you come to, you feel with the devices now all being deactivated and pretty much removed at this point. I'll say everyone, you all feel a little groggy. Ash, you feel like you have a terrible hangover, and then also your injuries on top of that.
Oh, she clutches at her forehead, but her actual expression seems relieved because that pounding headache is finally abating slightly. Oh, Captain, what happened? Did it work?
Worked a little too well there, Commander. And you and I are going to have a very frank discussion about what my orders mean in the future. But for now, get yourself to sick bay. Make sure that you are well enough to continue.
Yes, Captain. And Krell will sort of help her up to her feet and half carry her over to the turbo lift as they head towards sickbay.
And for the last scene of the night, we cut to sickbay. And some time has passed. We see Zach as he enters sickbay, and he's wearing a fresh new uniform, and his hair has grown back, and he's lost that wild look that he had before. And sickbay is mostly empty now. There's really not many people that require any kind of attention. But Astrid is, doing the tasks that she has in front of her, and Zach walks in, and she hasn't really noticed him yet, and he straightens his uniform, and he kind of looks at her. And he starts walking towards her, and then he stops, and then he starts to turn like he's going to walk away, and then he turns, and then he stops. And he's caught in a moment where he's trying to decide what to do when you notice that he's in the room, Astrid.
Do you need some additional help?
No, Lieutenant. I wanted to thank you for your assistance and to apologize for my conduct.
Well, a lot of people weren't thinking quite right, so there's nothing to apologize for. I'm glad that you're feeling better.
I was wondering if perhaps when you are done with your duty shift, you would like to go to the lounge with me, and I will replicate some ice.
Ice?
That we could break.
I'm taking 3 threat for that, GM Josh. Just gonna.
Uh, sure. Sure. I get off in about 3 hours.
Very good. I thank you. I will find the best ice that the replicators can create. Lieutenant Allen told me that this is something that it could be enjoyable.
We can discuss what it means to break ice a little bit later, but maybe we can replicate some ice cream or something.
Indeed, I have not had much ice cream. And if you would like to hear it, I'd like to tell you about the phaser upgrade that I will be proposing to the lieutenant. I have many ideas on increasing phaser capacity.
Sure. I'll be happy to hear. I'll see you in a couple hours then. I have to finish up here. There's a lot to be done since everybody left.
Indeed, I will look forward to it. And he turns and he looks maybe like he's walking a little bit taller, and he smiles a toothy grin. And the last scene that we have is of the Hyperion as she's just flying through space.